You know when you start writing something and as you go down the page you start to run out of paper and so your writing gets smaller and smaller and smaller? I want to do something a bit different today. Yeah. I've been working on building this kitchen, and if I just show this every day, it's going to get really, really boring. So let's show a little bit of that now, like maybe like a minute's worth. We're building this big shelf unit today. This is going to go in a kitchen. We have 2 rebated shelves, and then these ones will be adjustable to be on pins. Now the worst thing about cutting out all this blue stuff is you have really, really blue bogies in the morning. Yuck. Can you even hear me through my mask? Cool, let's put a pin in that. There's going to be plenty more of this blue kitchen over the next few vlogs. The last 2 videos both featured Lewis from LJ's, and in one of those videos I mentioned that I designed and built his carts for him, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. Well, I have a bunch of archive footage of that build process. I never finished the video because I think I lost the footage for a while, and also I didn't get the glory shots, like, you know, the shots of it all finished and nice, and so it kind of felt like the footage had no ending to it, and I've always wondered what to use the footage for. This seems like the perfect opportunity, right? I just did 2 vlogs with him in it. We'll make this number 3, that's like a 3-parter, and I can talk about building it and some of the stuff we got right, some of the stuff we got wrong. Let's do that. Roll the archive footage. In the beginning, Lewis was using 2 pallets that were painted black as his like frontage. I decided to get my lunch from LJ's, and when I saw Lewis in the queue, I said, I can make this better for you. Lewis started off with, I think what was originally a 2.5 by 2.5 meter gazebo? And so the idea was to make 2 carts that could fit next to each other, fill that span, be rollable, and have capacity inside so that they could place everything like gas bottles and drinks, all the heavy stuff that they were normally lifting and carrying back and forth from their van. It also had to be really robust, so we thought steel welded together would be a good option. It has been pretty good. I think we had 1 break ever, which I've welded back together. After a while we realized that welding the wheels on may not be the best solution because the carts are getting so abused, being moved around, lifted in and out of the van all the time, that after a while either the wheels start to wear out or the thin metal that holds the wheel to the cart starts to break. And so in the end it was better to bolt the wheels through. The original cart had like light Velcro mat tops, bases and sides, But what we figured out was that the trouble is there's so much like grease and oil splatter from cooking the food that like any wood that you put down just soaks up a huge amount of oil. I'm not sure that there's a sheet wood material that is going to be resistant enough to the oils. It's probably going to be one of those things where you just have to replace it every like 6 to 8 months. It's just wear and tear. In the front, I put these like big chunky pieces of cut up old scaffold board, which I think look really good. But as you'll see later on, we had trouble with weight limits. There's loads of aspects to the design that I had to strip back because of the weight. It was too heavy. It was too heavy to lift, but more importantly, it was too heavy for the van. Shame though, because it looked really cool. I also added this like wire mesh stuff to the front because there was this idea that we might be able to like hang stuff from it, like, you know, like menu boards and stuff like that. But it was just not necessary in the end. We also had these like fold out like aeroplane tables on hinges. That kind of worked for a while, but what I learned later on, I did like some iterations here in the workshop trying to think if there was a better way of dealing with that. And there's like a much simpler solution. In the very beginning, we had all these like weird extra bells and whistles. So we had this big banner board that went over the top for like menus and stuff. And then we also had these like glass sneeze guards that we made. COVID was more of a thing back then, so it was more important, but now not so much. And that kind of worked out because having like glass in a frame in their van was just really not a good idea. And that's all of the build footage that I have. The rest of it went missing, hence why I could never finish the video. I really liked that very first version of the stand. I think it was probably the coolest looking one. And since that, we've had to like streamline. They brought it back to me like maybe, I don't know, a few months afterwards. The clutch fell out of their van because the weight was just too much. Not just from my cart, but from everything that they had in the van. So we had to like take off side panels and bases, and all of the weight that we could lose, we had to lose. And that meant stripping it back to a much more bare bones version. In an ideal world, I'd like to bring it back to something like halfway between what we had then and what we've got now. Because now we've got loads of like simplified, like much better solutions, but back then it looked cooler. So I'd like to try and bring those together. Lewis, what do you think? Maybe we can do that. Maybe we can find a way to mush it together. You've got 2 vans now. The weight limit's not so much of a problem. So maybe we can beef it up again a little bit. It's one of those situations where you don't know what you don't know. And so I was focused on trying to make something that looked really cool and kind of fit in with their brand visually. What I should have done was more kind of research. That project in particular kind of like opened my mind into thinking about projects in more detail. So it's not just about the way things look, but it's about all of the practicalities of how it's going to be used. So in my mind, I said, oh, it's made of metal, so it's going to be stronger. It's on wheels so they can push it. Those are upgrades as far as I was concerned. But what I didn't think about was weight limits for the van, how the staff were going to actually pick it up to put it into the van over the step, how the glass would be stored in the van. So as a designer, it's really important to try and do all of your research, like spend a bit of time watching your clients, seeing what they're doing, how they're using things. That'll give you a much more informed decision about how to go about building something. I think we're at a point now where the cart works pretty good. There's a few more things that I'd like to do to it. And like I said, I'd like to try and pump up those visuals a little bit more. But I'm kind of in cheat mode at this point because I've known them for a while and I know exactly how they work. They're a lot less heavy-handed than they used to be, which is a plus. Anyway, that's all I have to say about the cart. I'll just put some images here so you can see what it looked like before, now. All that kind of stuff. I've got one video of it when it was finished, and that's it. It was raining when they picked it up, so we had to get it straight in the van. I didn't have much time to do like my finished photography. But yeah, that's Lewis, that's LJ's. Best street food in the country, no joke. If you're in Bath, you need to track them down. You won't regret it. I promise. It's really good. Anyway, should we get back to finishing off this day's vlog? Let's do it. It sounds like this is the hottest day of the year. I hear rumblings of a barbecue. It's 9 PM. I'm going back to the office to edit the video.